All right, folks. Greg, there's just no better feeling, and I know you out there in sunny
Yeah.
California, Southern California. This means
Yeah.
more to you than it probably does me. But I mean, Greg, we talked about this going into the game, and Notre Dame's offensive line had to show up, and
Yeah.
boy, did they ever! And Billy Schrouth, Otting, Gerby. I mean, you look at across the board. Anytime you rush for over 300 yards, you're going to win a lot of football games.
Yeah.
Um, at times the defense, it was frustrating, but they're playing like we expect them to play. You know what I mean? They're really playing with effort, with intensity. Um, it isn't pretty all the time, but man, they play like they did in 24 as far as the effort. Execution isn't quite the same, but effort is definitely there. And I'm telling you, it is crazy the way we've said this countless times going into this game. You
Yeah.
control the line of scrimmage, you win the game. It's always been the recipe. That's exactly what they did. And now look, it's all in front of them. It's all there. Notre Dame got some help today from some teams losing. It really is shaping up to be one heck of a team and one opportunity here. And the only negative I could come up with really is I sure hope Billy Schrouth is okay, because I'm telling you,
Yeah.
what a masterful performance he had today. I mean, he was just incredible. And the O-line altogether incredible. Anytime you can play that kind of bully ball against USC, you got a great chance to win. And it was just phenomenal. It really was so much fun to watch. And I got to say one more thing, because, again, I'm not a guy who complains a lot about officiating. But one penalty up until that last holding call, one penalty the entire game. I'm sorry. That's ridiculous. There's just no way. So doesn't matter. They won by 10. They played well. They did a fantastic job. And, man, I wonder what Kim on Spell is thinking right now. You know what I mean? It's like
after that, yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Every running back in the country's got to be holy cow. This is what I need. Tremendous job. Just so exciting. I can't be happier than I am right now. Go ahead, Greg.
I think it's an all-timer performance from Billy Schrouth. I mean, because the ankle and whatever was wrong, it was the ankle.
And
it was the knee,
hurt. There's no
whatever
doubt.
it was.
He was hurt.
He was very hurt. And I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
And this is 2 times in a row for Billy Schrouth against USC, because I remember last year at the Coliseum when it was me and Matt were talking about Billy Schrouth on the sideline and how hobbled he was. It was like he could not walk when Notre Dame was on the sideline, and then he would go out and play. He does it again against USC. Notre Dame outrushes USC 306-68. 24 carries for 228 yards for Jeremiyah Love and a touchdown. 13 carries for 87 yards for Jadarian Price and a touchdown. They pick up Notre Dame on a night when CJ Carr was off. I mean, it was the first time that I thought that he was kind of feeling it, like feeling the moment, feeling the pressure a little bit. Lots of bad decisions from him, lots of errant throws. But Notre Dame got exactly what they needed from the players up front. I mean, like you said, Gerby Lambert, all-timer. Joe Otting, what an incredible performance stepping in. There was a lot of talk about him, how he played when he came in the game, against NC State last week. He was phenomenal on the first 2 carries for Jeremiah. I mean, the tone was set right away. You were able to come through. There were Mike, how frustrated were we in the chat during this game? I mean, Notre Dame had this game that everything was going right for them, but they continued to shoot themselves in the foot the way that they do, and we can get into that, but they found a way to win. It's like you said, everything is in front of them now. They came in 13th in the country. USC was 5-1. They were ranked, right? They win the game. They have a chance to win out. Pitt's pretty good. Okay, Pitt is not a bad football team. Okay, so that's coming up. Navy's not a bad football team, all right? And that's a challenge that Notre Dame's going to have to deal with. If they win out here, I believe Notre Dame does control their own destiny as far as a playoff team. CFP Hurts. I want to get to the super chat. We thank you for the super chat, CFP Hurts. Let those losers tuck tail and run. Yellow bellied behavior. Mike, just speak to how that portion of it and how badly you wanted Notre Dame to win this game. And I know the fans wanted Notre Dame to win this game because of that, because of the way that USC approached this, the way that they approached the rivalry, the way that Chad Bowden was popping off during the offseason. There's the report that came out. He was helping Deanton Lynn with Notre Dame's personnel. I got to say, I don't know how much that worked because Deanton Lynn, I was not impressed with his performance at all. But talk about kind of that feeling. Like, I know you just said, oh, I'm so excited and I couldn't be happier. It has to do with all the stuff that's gone around this rivalry, right?
And it is a rivalry. And it's one that needs to continue to play. And of course, it's almost like everything in politics. One side's blaming the other. But look, USC's coming in here and saying, well, we want to play the game, but we want to play it at the beginning of the year. And it's like, no, look, that's not the way this game's always been done. It's been done the way it's been done. I'm sure Notre Dame's willing to bend a little bit, but at the same time, look, I mean, Notre Dame has enough tough games at the beginning of the year. We saw how that hurt them this year. You can't play that kind of schedule and then put USC in like game 2 or something like that. You're going to kill yourself. So, Notre Dame, I just love that Notre Dame beat USC the way I want to see Notre Dame beat USC. Yeah. Because this is what it's always been about, Greg. It's what it's always been about. They are unbelievably athletic. They have great athletes, but when it comes time to punch somebody in the mouth, they fold. And they've done that for years and years and years. When SC is tough, it's when they got a great defensive line and they can run the football. And Notre Dame, I mean, man, we talked about this going into the game. Losing Rubio, I thought, oh, man, we are in trouble. You know what I mean? I thought, if Rubio would have played, I would have felt pretty darn good about this. But because he wasn't playing, and then, of course, because Ashton Craig wasn't playing, and we didn't know what we were going to get out of Joel Otting, but holy crap, did Otting play great. That whole interior, just fantastic. And not just that, the blocking by the tight ends and downfield, the downfield blocking, superb. Absolutely superb. But even the running backs and the wide receivers coming in and hitting these little chip blocks, the lead blocks that they got to hit. You don't have to level somebody. You just got to get in the way. And they did such a great job with this. Now, was it the best game called by both OC and DC? Probably not. But, Notre Dame also did a lot to hurt themselves in this game. Yeah. And if there's one negative, again, I got another negative I want to add. And Greg, I'm sorry. How is it that Notre Dame can't find a kicker? I mean, how is this? Seriously, you got more money than everybody. I mean, how is it possible that you cannot find it? It's obviously terrible evaluation. It has to be because you can't consistently be this bad. How is it possible that you are this bad?
The kickoff's out of bounds too. Or when USC is not even trying to return kicks, like just kick it anywhere. They're going to fair catch it, right? And you're giving them 10 extra yards every single time. They miss another extra point in this game. It's extremely frustrating. But
they're not even close. You know what I mean? It's like the USC kicker straight down the middle every single time, just right down the middle. Notre Dame's kickers, it could go left, it could go right. It's never straight. It is never straight. And I'm just sitting there going, what are you guys evaluating when you're trying to evaluate a kicker? Because whatever you're doing, it's bad. And so that's a negative. We're done with the negative. We're done with it because there's really nothing to get upset about anytime you beat SC. And I'm telling you, this is fantastic. The crooked officiating, all this stuff that goes on, it doesn't matter because you know what matters, Greg? When you punch somebody in the mouth, are they going to stand up and do anything about it? And SC doesn't do anything about it. And Chad Bowden, hey, this is the team that you chose to be with. So, hey, we're more than happy that you're gone, and Notre Dame's going to be in a great situation because of this. So, very satisfying win. I'm just so excited. man, this was such a big game, man. It was such a big game. And to not play well and still really dominate USC, I think really says a lot about what Notre Dame can be if they just start playing better and they start kicking the ball better and they start, limiting the mistakes and the penalties and things like that. So this team could be so much better, and I think they're going to get there. Couldn't be a better time for a off week coming up. So I cannot wait for what's happening here, buddy.
Yeah, Randall L., thank you for the super chat celebrating Smash Mouth football and another win over SC. Thanks, Mike, Greg, and Jamie. And also Matt and Christian, who are killing it for us on the recruiting. This is a huge recruiting weekend. So check in irishsportsdaily.com. There's going to be a ton of recruiting updates that come out of this. Smash Mouth football, my first game ever was 1992. So that's the Reggie Brooks game that got referenced. Jeremiyah Love surpasses that by a yard. And it was kind of the same deal where USC was throwing the ball over the place, didn't really run the ball in that game. Notre Dame could not throw in the 92 game, but Bettis and Brooks killed them. So it's like you said, like it is what Notre Dame wants to be. And it is the differentiator, like kind of we talk about is this is how Notre Dame wants to play. And, Marcus Freeman talks about, offensive and defensive line driven programs. It showed out. It showed out tonight. There's another super chat here from Nicholas L. Do you two think Denbrock overthinks things at times? Just thinking of some of the play calls, especially in short yardage and third down. I mean, 100%. I put it out on Twitter. I thought the third and it was 3rd and 3 or whatever it was, 3rd and 2 in the red zone on the 3-yard line. Why are you trying to trick them? I don't understand why he keeps doing that. He keeps putting CJ Carr in that position. You don't need to do that. That once the play breaks down, if it does, CJ Carr has shown he's going to make a bad decision there. He is, and he's done it over and over again. He did it again in this game. It's not that I need them to run it. It's that you have to say, I'm going to make this super easy for you. Throw a jump ball to Malachi Fields if that's what you want to do. Throw a jump ball to Eli Raridan if that's what you want to do. You could also just run it. But they continue to put Carr in these positions, and he kind of showed them today was not his strongest game, and he just again made that questionable decision. I think there's a lot of calls that Mike Denbrock would want back, and I kind of understand because as a play caller, you only get one chance, right? It's not like you can only call one play, and I'm sure there's lots of plays that he think could work, especially so because he's got such a good offense. And here's the thing that I want to talk about with this game with you, Mike, because I feel like the thing that I was talking about with Jamie on Thursday in the preview was this is clearly, in my opinion, a good football team. Notre Dame is a good football team. They are a playoff caliber football team.
They are.
But they found ways to lose early in the year. They found a way to lose to Miami. They found a way to lose to Texas A&M. And it was like, you don't want the story of this season to be you're a very good football team that finds ways to lose in the key moments. And tonight, even though they were struggling and even though they did the things that have cost them games earlier in the year, they fumbled. They obviously threw that terrible interception. They missed an extra point, right? So many penalties, right? You're making mistake. You're throwing the ball over receivers' heads, right? You're missing throws, things like that. You have 40 yards of penalties on a drive where USC kicks a field goal. They don't do anything offensively, but you have 40 yards of penalties. They did all those things and they still found a way to win. Like that is such a builder for a team that doesn't have that history of winning. Like last year's team, they were able to build off the early wins. This year's team didn't have that. And the fact that they were able to do it in this game with the weather, with the uncertainty of the weather against your biggest rival, that is like, I think that is leaps and bounds, like super important. It almost like negates all of the stuff that they did. The fact that they got past it and won, I think is such a big builder for this team should they continue to win out and be a playoff team.
So I got a theory on the red zone stuff, and maybe I'm crazy, Greg. I just want to get your thoughts on this, but I think Denbrock is somewhat hamstrung in that. I think part of it is scheme. I don't like what they're doing sometimes down there. I think you can be a little bit more creative with the run game. Uh, Two, you got to have CJ Carr has to be an option in the run game in order for that to be effective. And they tried to do it on that third down play, and that certainly didn't go well. Later in the game, late in the game, where they tried to boot him out, and obviously that's what they were going to do with that, and that did not work. So I think that's part of it. But here's the other thing that I think is that people don't take into consideration. Denbrock knows that he has Price and Love, right? He knows that. And he knows if he throws a ball down there and it's not complete, everybody's going to yell at him like, what are you throwing the ball for when you have Love and Price? But what we see happens in third and short and fourth and short, Love and Price don't get the first down. They don't convert half the time, or lately more than half the time. And so it's kind of a tough situation. And to me, I think that if I'm Mike Denbrock, this whole off week, I'm figuring out what's going on in red zone. You got to have a different plan there. You got to have a different plan. And I think that because he has those two running backs, it's hard, to throw the ball, because if it doesn't work, then everybody's going to blame you by, why are you not running the ball with these two great running backs? This is crazy. But to me, I think that you're going to have to come up with a better plan, because whatever you're doing, it's not working. And it has not worked. It didn't work against Miami. It didn't work against Texas A&M. It's worked sometimes against some of these other teams, but whenever you play a tough team, and look, Notre Dame ran for 306 yards on this team. But guess what? When they needed to push it 2 yards, they couldn't do it. They couldn't do it down there in the red zone. And that is a tough situation to be in as a play caller. And again, I think part of it is by design. What you're doing, design. There's no misdirection. There's no reason for anybody to be concerned about, it might go left, it might go right. They're keying on whoever the running back is, and they're just loading in on it. And that's tough because there's just no other option there. So Denbrock's going to have to do a better job of trying to find ways to keep that front guessing, that meaning the defensive line and that front seven guessing on what you're going to do up there. And it's just been bad. And let's be honest, CJ Carr threw a nice throw there to Will Pauling, but he got the right coverage for it, right?
Right.
But he has not been overly effective throwing, inside that 10-yard line. He just hasn't been very effective in his throws there. And that puts you in jail. That makes it difficult to throw down there. So your thoughts here on that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they haven't found the formula, right? And they've had time to kind of work on it. And it's inexplicable, because I think Mike Denbrock seems to have a good feel for his team just overall, and he kind of has always, except when it comes to this thing, and it's fortunate for them that it didn't actually ultimately cost them. It could have cost them their season, if you think about it, because you had the missed fourth down against Texas A&M. Like it was becoming a thing where it's like, this is going to be the story of the season. So it's fortunate that they won the game, and they were able to overcome it. But that it does need to get figured out. And maybe winning the game gives them a confidence. So it's like, okay, we can stop getting in our own way, and we need to just continue to to play in that situation. But they do need to come up with a better plan. I see so many people who I go to these events and I go to these these special events and things like that. And they have these suits on that are just they're not good enough, Mike. And people, they need to come up with a better plan. Come up with a better plan for what you're wearing when you go out with the people you care about. And you can do that with ESQ Clothing, of course, founded by Notre Dame alum God Wang. He's Chicago's go-to for the best custom suits, shorts, and sport coats. As Notre Dame has reloaded this season, they have rebooted their season after starting 0-2. You can reboot your wardrobe to add the perfect suit, sport coat, tuxedo, or casual jacket. ESQ's master tailors combine next-level craftsmanship with the finest fabrics to deliver a fit that's built just for you. Now with showrooms both downtown Chicago and in Winnetka. Book your custom fitting at esqclothing.com and step into confidence with Chicago's finest. Mention ISD at your appointment and receive 10% off your entire purchase. That's esqclothing.com. I also want to mention at the top, or right at this point. Jamie's in South Bend. Can't be on the show because Jamie is he's right now at the press conference. And speaking of the press conference, Marcus Freeman said there's no update on Billy Strouth right now. He was able to go into the game. He noted he was able to go back in the game. So I mean, obviously, I mean, there's pain and there's problems there. So that's something they're going to have to monitor. Jalen Sneed at the press conference says this is a personal game. It means more to Notre Dame. And honestly, that was something that Jamie said during the
he did
during the show. Yeah, he said it just the game seems to mean more to Notre Dame than it does to USC. I want to go over a huge part of this game. There was a huge discussion about what Notre Dame's going to do with Makai Lemon. First snap of the game, they've got Leonard Moore and Makai Lemon. Makai Lemon finishes with 4 catches for 76 yards. He had the 142-yarder that was against Christian Gray in coverage, not with Leonard Moore on him. I mean, is it fair to say? I mean, Leonard Moore shut him down. I mean, he had a couple of he had one slant. He had a couple of short catches, but beyond the 42-yarder, when he's on Christian Gray, when Leonard Moore was covering him, Makai Lemon, he didn't do anything, And look, Leonard Moore is he's a superstar. I mean, he's big, he's long. I think when people see him on TV, I don't know if you have a chance to go to a game and you have a chance to especially go to the player walk. Watch Leonard Moore walk down. I mean, that is he is in a way that Ben Morrison just kind of isn't. Yeah. He's long. He is big. He's thick. Like, he's just a big time football player. And he was able to do it in this game. Another super chat from John Amberg. Jalen Sneed came up big tonight. 6 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 2 hurries. Onye showed up too. I'm having a Guinness and basking in the afterglow. Huge win. Thanks, Mike and Greg. You guys do a great job. I want you to talk a little bit about the linebackers in this game, Mike, because I thought Drake Bowen had one of the best starts to a game that he's had this year. KVA, obviously some huge plays in this game. I thought Jaden Osbury made some. Jalen Sneed got brought up by John here. A big game for him as well. Talk about the linebackers, because I think this was a huge question mark going into the game. They had been playing passive. They haven't been as aggressive as they were last year, I think, because of some of the scheme stuff. Talk about what you saw from the linebackers and what you liked from them in this game.
Well, first of all, it's crazy when you watch Jalen Sneed, because you get some of the negative plays, but it's the positive that he can really impact a game. And look, I'm glad that he played more. I'm very pleased, and I think they realized that, hey, the way to beat SC is to get him behind the sticks, right? You want to hurt him on 1st and 2nd down and make sure that they have 3rd and long. And I thought Sneed played really, really well, especially in the pass rush. I thought KVA did a great job. And Drake Bowen, man, that play on 4th down was huge. And it wasn't just Drake Bowen. I mean, they had that covered very well. I mean, they had a front defender, a back defender, and somebody chasing Maiva. And I'm just telling you, that was really good. And I'll say this, Chris Ash, it was frustrating at first, but he's done this now 4 or 5 games in a row where, look, things start. They play so much better in the second half. They just do. And, part of it is the fact that they couldn't run. But look, Greg, you go into a game and you have these things that you write down. You say, we got to do this, we got to do this, we got to do this. And the first one on the list is we got to stop Lemon. We got to stop him. The second one is we got to shut down the running game, right? And the third is we got to pressure the quarterback. And they did all those things pretty well today. Did I like every call? No. But you got to also remember, you've got a true freshman out there in Dallas Golden trying to hold on. Yeah. It's a tough situation. And it was nice to see Adon Schuler make some plays back there as well. And of course, another big play there, Greg, was Tay Johnson on that play. That was a
when
huge
he came from
play.
Center field. I mean, that's why he's in the game.
Hard.
That's why he's
exactly.
in the game. I thought he had some poor moments in this game with his eyes. But like that's the kind of thing that'll happen, especially against USC. Like that's exactly what Lincoln Riley does. But that is the play that's why he's in the game, because he can do things like that to the point you just made, Mike.
I have to laugh because I remember last year we were in group chat and stuff like this, and I'll never forget. And this is for Yama because he's the Yama, but he basically said last year Lincoln Riley will do something to screw this game up.
He said it in the preview. The stuff with the gadget stuff, unreal. I listen. Lincoln Riley has some explain. 4th and an inch in the rain, and he rolls them out. And Notre Dame absolutely had it covered. It had no chance. Shocking. Like there's some. They're moving the ball. They try to do Makai Lemon on the reverse.
What are you doing?
What are you doing? What are you even
seriously?
thinking?
What are you doing? I mean, we would have shot the offensive coordinator for that call. You know what I mean? Everybody would have shot whoever made that call. And I just, I think Riley is a very talented play caller, but it's easy to get in your own head sometimes and into your own brilliance. And I just kind of laugh at Yama because he's been saying that for years. He really has. And he was absolutely right again. And you got to give I got to give SC a lot of credit as well. I thought they came and they showed up to play. And let's be honest, Greg, they played well in this game, minus the very end. They played well, and they didn't shoot themselves in the foot like we normally see, right? Not a lot of penalties. Obviously, there was one before the last one, and they played a very clean game until the very when they got behind. Yeah. But again, that's how you beat SC. You get them behind, you force them to make some plays, and you just keep pounding them. And man, Notre Dame just kept pounding and pounding and pounding, and it was just beautiful. 300 yards rushing, Greg. 300 yards. This is awesome. I mean, this is what we want to see, brother. That's what we want to see.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm getting fired up again.
No, it's true. And I will say, like Shanty Irishman says, like there was, I think, one holding call in the whole game. I mean, look, I was watching it. Notre Dame could have been called for some holds there. I was thinking, though, because there was some stuff that was kind of like borderline on the kickoff return touchdown. I was like, if they call a penalty on this, I think it might be unsafe to be a referee in this stadium. Like
exactly.
I think people might have rushed the field. I honestly believe that because it was just kind of that to that point, and I think look, the thing is with the PI stuff, like some of it is borderline, some of it is just like Christian Gray's got to stop being so grabby, man. Like he's getting hands on, and once you start to do it, they're going to keep calling it, but listen, Christian Gray, I swear this guy against USC, him and Jadarian Price, like Jadarian Price, the USC fans have to be so sick of him. He returned the kickoff for a touchdown. Yeah. He returned the kickoff for a touchdown against them in 2023 when it was, the game was getting closer at that point. Turns kickoff for a touchdown. In 2024, Jeremiyah Love gets hurt. Jadarian Price comes in and runs for 100 yards or whatever it was. In this game, USC's got the momentum, right? They're coming back. Jadarian Price returns the kickoff for a touchdown. They've got to be so tired of Jadarian Price and the things that he does. But look, I mean, that's the type of thing that you get in these rivalries, and it's the type of thing that it's a part of the lore. And this is why rivalries like this need to stay, right? Like, because it's part of the lore of college football. It's 100 years old. It's 100 years old.
And it's almost always a great game, Greg. No matter how good either team is, it's almost always a great game. So you got to keep it together, man. You got to keep it together. On Christian Greg, do you get the feeling that he's hurt? He just doesn't look like he's fast like he was before. He just doesn't look like he can run with these guys like he was before. And I almost wonder, like, there was one time he kind of pulled up and it looked like he was grabbing his hamstring. So I almost wonder if he's just not quite 100% at this point, and he's just out there fighting.
Mhm.
I'll give that kid a lot of credit, man. He does not wilt. He'll keep fighting and he'll keep going at it and doing the best job he can. And so you got to give him a lot of credit. And man, I'm just so excited about what this thing can be. You know what I mean? I just think that this thing could be really special, especially if they get the pass rush going a little bit better. We got to hope Billy's okay. I just that they need Billy to be 100% moving forward. I just got to hope it's nothing bad. And if it is, the luck of Marcus Freeman, I mean, that would be a third starter, when you consider Jagasaw a starter going out. I mean, it's just, what is the odds of this? So let's just hope that there's no problem with Billy. But it's just, I've never seen Notre Dame lose so many offensive linemen. It's just incredible how many times they get injured. And when was the last time Notre Dame played a whole season with most of their starters at offensive line? It just doesn't happen anymore.
Honestly, it was like 2017 with Houston.
Yeah. I think it's just crazy to think about it. It really is crazy to think about. But I want to get your thoughts on something. And again, I apologize. I won't be able to stay. I got some friends here. We watched the game together. So I want to be able to, but I want to get your thoughts on what you saw from everybody else today, the other teams. Where do you think Notre Dame stands with this? I mean, Bama's pretty good. I watched them, but I think Notre Dame can hang with them. I really do. Ohio State, it's hard to know. They just haven't played anybody where you're just like, where they've been challenged, So until we see that, it's hard to say how good OSU really is. But man, I've watched a lot of these teams, and I'm not afraid of any of them, really. I'll tell you one team that's starting to scare me is Georgia. Starting to really, their defense isn't that great, but they're playing like Notre Dame did last year, where, man, no matter what happens, we're just going to keep putting the gas down. And they're starting to play. And Georgia's offensive line is pretty good, which is surprising. I didn't expect them to be pretty good, but they are pretty good. The other thing I will say, I just don't think the SEC is really all that good. I don't think that there's really a great team in the SEC. What I think is they have a lot of teams that would rank somewhere between, say, number 7 and in the 20s. You know what I mean? There's all those teams are kind of right there, but I don't see a great team. I don't see a team where you're like, you know what? I'd be afraid to play that team. Your thoughts on everybody else that you've seen so far?
So I'll just, like, the SEC point, right? Again, another data point on Arkansas and where they stand in the SEC versus where they stand with Notre Dame, right? Yeah. They beat Texas A&M, or they lost to Texas A&M 45-42. Yeah. They put up 42 points on Texas A&M. They lose by 3. They played Ole Miss. They lost by, I think it was 6. They scored 31 points. They played Tennessee. They lost by 3 points. They played Memphis. They lost by 1 point, scored 31 or more in all of these games. They played Notre Dame. They lost by 43 and scored 13 points. Yeah. Like, it is that's a real data point. They've played all these ranked teams close, and they've done numbers on all of them, with the exception of Notre Dame, who just completely embarrassed them. Like, I think it, and this is like kind of bears out, right? What did Alabama do when they started playing when they played Florida State, who isn't in the SEC? They got run out of the building. Yeah. And then they started playing SEC teams. Oh, and it's like, oh, they're good now. Like, all these SEC teams are highly ranked. They all beat each other, and then they play someone out of conference, and then they get run. Right? Like, at least you have Ohio State, who beat Texas. You have Indiana. Like, I don't care whatever you think of Illinois. They beat them 63-10.
Yeah, they did.
That's serious business. They went to Oregon, and I don't know how good Oregon is, right? Because they went to overtime against poo-poo Penn State, right? I don't know. Okay, but like, you go to Oregon. If Notre Dame went to Oregon and won by 10, I'd be like, that's a real win. You know what I'm saying? Yep. So, like, I'll give Indiana credit. I'll give Ohio State credit. After that, I mean, I don't know what there is a team out there, because especially when, like, look, if CJ Carr is going to play like this, then that brings a lot of teams closer,
Sure.
right? But
he won't play this bad again.
This has not been the norm, and so you can only go off of that. And then, like, he plays a bad game in complimentary football, they run for 300 yards. So to me, I think there's Ohio State, and I think there's Indiana to an extent, and I think everyone else is right there. You know, and so
I'll give the SEC credit in that. I think that it would be tough. I mean, when you look at LSU's schedule, I mean, they got to play A&M next week, right? And then they got to play Alabama, and then they got to play at Oklahoma. That's a tough row, man. I mean, that's difficult to do. So I do think it's tough to survive in the SEC and not drop games, because you do play quality opponents where, Notre Dame will get to play some lesser teams that aren't quite as challenging. And so you got to play well in order to survive the SEC, because, you can't have off games. If you have off games, you're going to end up losing games. And so I do think it's difficult to play in the SEC, but I just don't think that there's a lot of great teams. I'll say this. I think, and I hate saying this because I don't like the guy, but I think Indiana's probably the best coached team right now. They are just very disciplined. They got a very good defensive coordinator. Their offensive coordinator does a good job. Their offensive line does a good job. They're just a very well-coached team. And so for Notre Dame, if they have to play Indiana, they're gonna have to play really well to beat a team.
I mean, they're physical, like Indiana's.
They are
for sure. Yeah,
they'll play bully ball just like Notre Dame will. So and their defense, we'll see how good they are. Once they start playing some teams with a little bit more offense. But hey, this is a good team. Indiana's a good team, and they deserve where they're ranked, and I think Ohio State does too. We'll see how good Ohio State is when they play somebody, but I don't know. I don't think that Notre Dame is in a bad situation. I think they can play with a lot of these teams, and we'll just have to see what 100%, happens.
Especially with the defense now in a better place, because look, obviously they gave up some stuff to USC. Let's not forget, okay, in SP Plus and in other metrics, USC had the number one offense in the country. Okay.
Yeah.
They had 396 total yards. They had 328 passing, and they averaged 5.6 yards per play. Like, again, according to the metrics, that's the best offense in college football. Okay. I was having a conversation with someone on the USC beat she thought like USC's offense is elite. They have run the ball. With this running back, they ran all over Michigan.
Yeah.
And they couldn't get anything on Notre Dame. They ran the ball for 68 yards. King Miller, 18 carries, 70 yards, 3.9 yards per carry.
Yeah.
Like the defense.
And that's without Rubio.
Exactly.
And that's without Rubio.
Like, the defense is not what it was. Yeah. And so when you factor that in, because it doesn't matter looking back now, right? Like people look at Notre Dame's metrics and they think, this is what the defense. No, they're not that anymore. You give up 24 points to USC. That's a good performance.
Great job by Dawson. Great job by Anya. This is the best game Anya played all year.
He needed to, and he did. Yes.
Yeah.
He needed
outstanding game. Yes. And Hughes as well. Hughes came up with some big plays there as well. And so, glad to see the depth. I just hope that Rubio isn't out for very long. That's the one thing you hope. But all right, Greg. First of all, I want to say thanks to everybody. I got to get back to my friends here, but I want to say thanks to everybody. Great chat, great game. So excited. I'll let Greg kind of close this out, and I appreciate everybody. Thanks so much for everything. Man, this was fun. This was just awesome. I got to try and get Mush on the phone too. I got to see how he's doing. So I got to see how he's doing. But fantastic. I appreciate everybody. Go Irish. This was just a great game. Great job as always, Greg. And carry it home. And I hope Yama's having fun. Yes, you know what? They usually win when Yama's there. Maybe
they usually win when Yama's there
all the time.
They didn't win for me. They won. Yes. They won for Jamie.
They should have won for you, though. They should have won. They had it there. Anyway. Yes. All right, guys. Thanks so much, man. Appreciate it. This is just great, man. I just love it. I just love it. Now let's get some recruits. Let's get some recruits, man.
Get some recruits.
This is awesome.
All right.
All right, guys. Later, man.
Thank you. All right, guys. We're gonna keep the show rolling. Listen, everyone's in a good mood. We've been waiting for this since the A&M game. So let's keep the show rolling. It's gonna be heavy in the chat. Put in chat questions, topics you want to talk about. We can talk about those things because everyone's in a good mood and people are, you beat your rival and everyone's fired up. So let's keep the show rolling. I might go long tonight. I don't know if the chat is still going. I'm just gonna keep the party rolling. And speaking of the party, I want to say, I think my nephew might be watching this game. Happy birthday to you. My nephew and my daughter, my oldest daughter, share a birthday. They had a birthday yesterday. Funny story, and I've told this story before on the pod. My daughter was born the day before Florida State in 2014. So it was like the day after Notre Dame had a big game after she was born, the day after she was born. And that obviously ended much worse than this. Unrep says, question for Greg, who is the chief Trojan killer from tonight? I mean, it's got to be Jeremiyah Love, right? I mean, Jeremiyah Love, 24 carries, 228 yards. He had 37 yards receiving. So what is that? 265 total yards on 29 touches. 29 touches, 265 total yards. I mean, Jeremiyah Love is in the annals of this rivalry, right? Like similar to Reggie Brooks, similar to like Anthony Davis or someone like that. People are going to talk about this for a long time. I think Jadarian Price, like he is like as a career, you got to look at, he might be chief Trojan killer from what he did in 23, what he did in 24, and what he was able to do tonight. He had a rushing touchdown and he had the kickoff return touchdown. I mean, he's just like, he's been unbelievable against USC. And it's again, those two guys, when you can lean on those running backs like that, and that was what Notre Dame needed, right? I think because whenever you think about the weather, like whenever we talked about the weather, the question was, can Notre Dame run the ball the way that, because they haven't, right? I mean, that was the big question. People were very disappointed the way they ran the ball against Boise State for a period. People were very disappointed with the way that they ran the ball against NC State, right? And so people saw the rain in the forecast. They saw what type of night it was going to be. The first carry of the game goes for 63 yards. And the thing that is shocking to me about USC and this game is they never adjusted. Not for 1 second did they adjust to what Notre Dame was doing to them in the running game. They just continued to, I mean, they kept playing too high. I tweeted out every time Notre Dame sees a too high look, just run the ball, because then the numbers are in your favor. They're not bringing that safety down. They kept too high there the whole time. They kept running the ball. They run for 306 sack adjusted rushing yards for 315 for 7.3 yards per carry. So you take away the sacks on CJ Carr. I mean, it just, I'm shocked that USC did not have a better plan for what Notre Dame wanted to do in the running game. There's been so much talk about DeAnton Lynn and like how good of he was getting so much praise last year when they went 6-6. And Notre Dame had the best offensive game they've had against USC in the Coliseum in a long, long time. Just wasn't impressed. Not impressed tonight. So again, Lincoln Riley's team has stuff to figure out on defense. John Amberg, thank you for the super chat. Greg, what do you attribute the turnaround on defense to since the second half of Purdue? Did Marcus Freeman had a hand in it? I'll hang up and listen. There's a bottle of Jameson calling my name. Thank you for the super chat, John. We've talked about this a little bit before. I think it was getting Tay Johnson into the as a regular on the defense. I think Dallas Golden made some plays tonight. He got beat, right? And he had a tough game. It was always going to be a tough game, his first one against USC, right? That playing USC and Lincoln Riley, and let's be clear about something, okay? Lincoln Riley was in his bag to start this game. He was playing tempo. He was playing different formations. So like they were playing tempo with different formations. Notre Dame was trying to they were trying to sub. They were trying to adjust. Notre Dame had their own things going on. And Lincoln Riley had Notre Dame swimming for a very long time to start the game. Chris Ash, to his credit, adjusted. They gave up 10 points early in the game, in the first quarter, 14 points the rest of the way. Okay. So a good adjustment by Chris Ash, a good job by the defense of finding their footing, and that was exactly what happened. That's how they were able to win the game and get the stops. They got all the stops they needed in the fourth quarter. Great performance from the defense in the fourth quarter. Did Marcus Freeman have a hand in it? 100% he did. He's the head coach. And I tweeted out, again, I don't love mentioning my tweets, but I do like referencing when I've already talked about something. So that's what I'm doing. I tweeted out after, I think it was the Purdue game or after the Texas A&M game, said, like, do you have faith in Marcus Freeman? Marcus Freeman has a history of figuring things out. He is not one to sit there and look at a problem over and over, especially when it comes to defense. The man knows how to coach defense. So I just think that Marcus Freeman has a good feel for these things. And look, it's his job to get his coordinators in line. It's his job to get his defense in line. And he did it, right? So credit to him, credit to Chris Ash. I'm not going to, if we're going to rip on Chris Ash the way that we did in the first two games and then in the first half against Purdue, if we're going to do that, then we got to give him flowers when he does a great job. He's done a great job. I'm losing my voice. We're carrying on. We're carrying on. Seat Pampson, thank you for the super chat. Third straight game with 3 second-half takeaways. Defense made it happen in the clutch. Love, Price, O-line dominant. Exactly. I think that the havoc is coming. I thought Notre Dame's four-man rush, I'll bet you when we look at the PFF numbers tomorrow, the under pressure rate for Jadarian, who has not been sacked this year. I mean, how often was he just in complete trouble, right? I have no idea how on that last drive he wasn't called for intentional grounding. It is absolutely inexplicable. He's inside. It doesn't matter where he is in the pocket. The ball did not reach the line of scrimmage. It was at the feet of the offensive lineman. There were no receivers in the area. Inexplicable, right? But that's Notre Dame pressure. They got pressure again when he's rolling out and he throws the ball up. I thought, and it was with 4. Notre Dame did not have to send numbers at Jadarian to get pressure. It was a huge part of this game and why Notre Dame was able to, pull away on defense there and pull away at the game. It was a great performance from them, and it was a great performance from the defensive line, as Mike mentioned earlier. Great job by them. Sergio says, "Did Cooper Flanagan play?" He did play. I believe he was in on one of the touchdown runs from Jadarian Price. Morgan Connolly says, "Greg, did you notice Max Bulla after the game getting into it with the USC team?" I did not see that. I was setting up for this game. I will go back and check. I'll tell you what, man. There were a lot of things said in the lead up to this game for the last year. Things have been said by the USC team that I know, just as a competitor, Notre Dame's not going to be happy with. Just the way that they were talking about this rivalry, the way that they were talking about, Notre Dame and Chad Bowden and all those other things. I just thought, some of it was unnecessary and they didn't need to do it. Obviously, Notre Dame answered the bell. They beat up USC tonight. They absolutely beat them up. When you run for 300 and you give up 68 on the ground, you beat up your opponent. And that's what happened. Seat Pampson says, unbecoming from the officials. It's just got to be expected every single time. Every single game, it's got to be expected. They gave Notre Dame 2 interceptions. The ball is clearly on the ground. I don't know what to make of the Malachi Fields situation. It's tough. I don't know. Again, I don't know what to make of the grounding. A couple of those interference penalties I thought were unfair. But Notre Dame ends up with 8 penalties for 96 yards. USC has 1 penalty for 5. It's just kind of unbelievable. Unrep says, to be clear on the grounding call, there was a tight end who was clearly not trying to receive the ball as he was looking downfield. No, yeah, it's ridiculous. It's no good. Pat Subkowski says, one more point on Ash. I think understandably, I and others underestimated how long it would take to get his feet under him. It seems like he has now. Great to see. Go Irish. Yeah, I think he absolutely has. 100%. Like, I think he's figured it out, right? And he kept at it. And he had the support of his coaching staff and his head coach. And so he was able to go in there and, and make it happen and make adjustments. That's what good coaching is, right? That's what they're paid a lot of money, as we know. And they did the job that they're paid to do. So congratulations to them. Jason C says lots of post-game extracurricular. I'm going to have to check that out. A bit of a scuffle for sure. Urlacher was allegedly involved. Kennedy Urlacher, that's good stuff. Sam K says we should send a hat around for. I don't like the wireless. I have wireless ones. I don't like them. So they don't fit in my ears very well. And so when I talk, they pull out, like they're falling out. And then I have to keep adjusting them, and it bugs me. And I don't like it. So I don't like wireless earbuds. Matt says, genuine question, does Notre Dame have the best linebacker unit in the nation? I think it's possible in terms of like the talent. I don't think they've played anywhere near that level, to be fair. I thought they played a great game tonight. They played a great game. I thought Drake Bowen set the tone early. The way that and I'll do some clips on this for Twitter, because the way that they were darting into the backfield when they read run, I mean, USC must have had some tells on their run game, like when they were running the ball and when they were going to pull it and whatever. Because, I mean, Drake Bowen was darting into the backfield as well as and as quickly as he has ever in his career. I thought in Drake Bowen, a fantastic football game from him. Drake Bowen had 5 tackles. He had 2 passes broken up. And then he had another one where he snuffed out a screen pass. He played a phenomenal game. Great job by Drake Bowen. I mean, he really played great. I mean, KVA put in positions. He had the 2 tackles, 1 solo tackle, 1 sack, 1 tackle flop. Like, he was put in positions to be a disruptor. And that's exactly what he did. Jalen Sneed, 6 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 2 quarterback hurries, right? Playing a great game. Jaden Osbury, another 2 tackles, right? So I think they're finally with the linebackers. They finally have a sense of this is how we want to use these guys. This is how we are going to create problems for the defense or for the offense with our linebackers, right? And I think the rain played into Notre Dame's strength a little bit because it allowed Notre Dame to play their linebackers a little bit more. 3 linebackers on the field, that's advantageous for Notre Dame. And obviously they're doing more 12 personnel. USC is. So that's a big deal. Unrep says, which previous Notre Dame SC game does this win remind you most? Like I said, I want to say I'll think about it a little bit more. I want to say 92, just because Notre Dame couldn't throw the ball in that game, but they ran it all over them, and they ran it from right away. Like, they clearly ran right down their face. You know, they didn't have a kickoff return in that game, but like Reggie Brooks had 227. I want to say Jerome Bettis had around 80 something yards, like Jadarian Price did. Like, it was very similar in that way. And then USC was kind of throwing the ball in that game, and they couldn't really run the ball. So I think it's that one. I have to let me think back. I mean, it was a little bit 2015 in the sense that Notre Dame had a chance to pull away on them, and they kept USC in the game. I think they won that game by 10 as well. I think it was 41-31. So that's the deal. Anthony Ferran says he wasn't getting into it with them. They were hugging. Look like family or friends from USC. Conflicting reports on that. I'll have to go back. I'll have to check. Scott L says, did anyone see Jeremiyah Love run to the USC end zone after the game and get in the push-up position and then thrust his hips like he was in missionary? Can you do that? The parietals? I wonder if there's a parietal violation there. We Dem Boys says the rushing 4 looks a lot better now. Yeah, when you can get pressure, like that, it's clearly, when you can get pressure like that, it clearly helps, right? I mean, it's almost necessary against a team like USC because of all the different things that they can do. Seat Pamson says something for Hit and Hustle this bye week. What is breaking down on Christian Gray's technique leading to the PIs? He's just grabby. He loses confidence like at the catch point or like at that critical moment. He always wants to grab. And like sometimes they don't have to call it, but if you get a ref crew that is looking for stuff, then they will just call it. Like they will. So he's got to be smarter about that. He's got to be more confident with the ball in the air. He just does. And maybe there's something with him in USC, but I'll tell you what, man, he comes underneath and makes the interception. The guy battles. He absolutely battles out there. And like people, hate on him or whatever, and they get very mad at him and what he does and that sort of thing. And I get it, right? I get it. Because he drives me insane too with some of the technique stuff and some of the coverage stuff. And it's just like, don't turn a guy loose like you did to Mekhi Lemon there, even though Tate Johnson probably needs to read that a little bit better considering who was running, crossing your face there. Probably needs some help from the safety, but like he does stuff like that. But then he undercuts a route and he gets an interception. And that's what you get from a guy like Christian Gray, a guy who's just going to consistently just battle like that. Anthony Foran says, Greg, what's been up with the refs the last 4 weeks? So many lopsided games on the officiating side. They're just inconsistent. They're just inconsistent, and they have been it's across the United States. I mean, you watch any game and you're just going to see poor call. I mean, the Georgia game from last weekend, it's just inexplicable. Some of the things we're seeing in these games. It's a problem, and I don't know how it gets fixed, right? Like they got to find a way to train these guys a little bit better. Maybe, a lot of them, I'm sure this isn't their full-time job. Maybe you got to start giving these guys like full-time job status so that they can focus on this because it's just not good enough. And I think they need more transparency with the replay system too. I mean, there weren't any poor replays tonight, but like on the Malachi Fields catch, like Terry McCauley's saying, well, I mean, I could see how they interpret it, but we don't know how they're interpreting it. And they just go with the call in the field because they don't know. Like there are so many missed calls on replay because you're just blindly going with the call in the field. Like you're deferring with the call in the field. When it A, happens, bang, bang, and B, these guys don't really know what happened. Like they're guessing. But then once they make a guess, that guess gets put on this pedestal of like, hey, we can't change it because we need it to be 100% certain. When they weren't 100%, not even close when they called the original. So it's just one of those things you gotta deal with, and you gotta just be ready for. It is what it is. Jason Z says, how's Chad Bowden doing? Jeremiyah Love was asked about Chad Bowden, and he said it didn't matter to him that he was there. It's not a big deal to him. It's all about the team glory. I think Jeremiyah Love also mentioned the trash talking that was going on. They said they weren't pleasant conversations, but that stuff stays in house, right? So, or it stays on the field between the players, and that's all fine. I think everyone's is fine with that. We Dem Boys says, I'm amped after that win. Feels great knowing the playoff dream is alive. Absolutely. The playoffs are on, in my opinion. Playoffs are on. And I think Notre Dame's a threat. 100% they're a threat. If Notre Dame wins out, they're going to be a problem because the defense is solved and they've figured things out. They can't win out if the defense is poor. They're going to be a problem. They have a potential to be a real big problem. Steven Shokowski says, Matt Leinart thinks the ref's job to see. Kind of rich from the guy who scored on the Bush push after fumbling forward on the previous play and getting the forward spot. 100%. 100%. Matt Leinart has nothing to say ever. He did score on an illegal play, and it should not have counted. And that's exactly correct. It was an illegal play that he scored on, and it should have been penalized. So from now until forever, he has nothing to say about it, and he should keep his mouth shut about USC getting jobbed. And oh, by the way, you gave up 300 yards rushing. you should lose. You give up 300 yards rushing to a team that you know is struggling at quarterback and it's raining. You deserve to lose. You got physically destroyed. You gave up 300 yards and you rushed for 68. You got crushed, and so complaining about the refs, like, sure, there was some missed calls. If you want to talk about that from a USC point of view, like, I thought there was a missed face mask on Jaden Mayava at one point. I thought there was a missed PI on who was it? Was it Hines? It was either Hines or Jacoby Lane that didn't get called, right? But they also, like, the other team had 9 penalties and you had 1. Like, how are you going to complain about something like that? It's just not a thing. It should not be happening. And so I don't have any sort of sympathy for that sort of thing. Dan Adams says, my dude Onye came to play. It's funny, speaking of Onye. And your name, your screen name there. There's a guy on Twitter who I end up blocking. He was like trolling me the whole game about Chris Ash and how terrible he is. So I blocked him. But that's why you got to wait till the game ends, and then you get these things figured out. Things can change. Isaac K says Malachi Fields made an absolutely amazing play on the incompletion. That was probably a catch. Unbelievable catch. Like an all-timer. I'd put it on my highlight tape. It was a great catch, and it was a great play. And look, feel free to throw him a jump ball on one of these. You're getting your quarterback involved in a situation where he's throwing the ball up or whatever it might be. It's a great catch, and he's a good player. Like, use his size, right? And I'll give credit to him. The guy blocks his butt off, and he didn't get a lot of opportunities in this game. Let me just check here. What I don't know how often he was targeted. Obviously, that one time, Fields 1 catch for 9. He was targeted 3 times. Faison 8, Jeremiyah Love 5, Will Pauling 5, Eli Raridan only the 3 targets. So I mean, it's a product of CJ Carr being off a little bit, but I mean, the guy blocks his butt off and he plays his butt off for his teammates and his team. It's like the team glory thing, and it's about him, giving himself to a team and what they're trying to do, and finding a community of people that he wants to go to battle with and he wants to play with. And it's important to find community like that. You can find a community if you need to, a community of Notre Dame fans. You want to hang out with Notre Dame fans. You want to do it outside of maybe like a message board or something like that. Do you want to go out with Notre Dame fans and find a common cause about something? You can do that with H2 pickleball. You can find something like a pickleball event with H2, of course, founded by Notre Dame alum Todd Hill. He's teaming with fellow alums Jack Gibbs and Will Howells, who's a top 10 pickleball pro, to bring Notre Dame fans to Notre Dame Pickleball Crew League. Besides football, what better way to connect and engage Notre Dame fans than through pickleball? Membership is free, and members will have access to special pickleball events and discounts. The next event will be a Will Howells Pickleball Clinic on the Friday before the Syracuse game. Members can also get discounted tickets to that game. Contact Todd at h2pickleball.com or call him at 574-339-5195 to join the league. Be sure to visit the H2 Pickleball facility in Mishawaka when you are in town. H2 Pickleball is located at 55801 Evergreen Plaza Drive in Mishawaka, Indiana. How about that? Coach Hump says, is there any truth to the rumor that Lincoln Riley drew Notre Dame's name out of a hat for Secret Santa with the 4th down play call? He started that rumor. Unbelievable. These guys, man. But the thing is like sometimes when you have so many plays and you have so many ideas, it's sort of similar to Mike Denbrock in the sense that you outthink yourself and you start to do things that it's like you think could work. And in your mind, it's like, oh, it's this great play call and I've got them and I'm going to out leverage them in this big moment. It's 4th and an inch, man. And you're rolling out your quarterback and the play immediate. The thing about that is if Notre Dame sniffs it out and they read it, the play's over. You have no chance. And that's exactly what happened. They tried to bring the tight end out. 2 people were covering him, and Jalen Sneed was on the quarterback. That play was a failure immediately. And it's like one of those things where I made the wrong call in the wrong moment, and this play is bust. Unfortunate for Lincoln Riley. Fortunate for Notre Dame. But it's just, you do these things, man. You absolutely do these things. Trent Bonu, incredible take here. Love was throwing punches, talking trash. Love was throwing punches, talking trash, effing the grass, etc. Run for 228 and you can date my wife, buddy. Trent's feeling good tonight. He's allowing his wife to go on a nice date have a nice steak dinner, maybe in Chicago. The best steak dinners you can find in Chicago. Unrep says, name a bigger player usage whiplash than in CJ Carr or Riley Leonard, CJ Carr in those quarterback sneaks. Carr's quarterback sneak touchdowns look Reese-esque. For those 2 plays, I thought Denbrock forgot Leonard was in quarterback. I mean, look at I don't know what y'all are upset about. They didn't run Wildcat. They used the extra blocker. He heard you on the Wildcat situation. So, credit to Mike Denbrock. He did. No one wanted CJ Carr blocking. They had him running. Give him credit for that. Scott L. says, I kept watching KVA make play after play, and it really drove home how much better Notre Dame is with him on the field. He wasn't on the field enough during games 1 and 2. Yeah, I think that's a part of it too. You got to use your guys. This was it. It was going to be a huge KVA game. He didn't play against USC last year. Got a chance to play against USC this year. It was going to be a big one. Jason Z says, maybe Denbrock can borrow the USC playbook for a J Love running back pass. That'll help his Heisman campaign. Unbelievable. It's raining. It's pouring rain. And we're going to do all this flippy flappy, throwing the ball to the flipping the ball back to your wide receiver who you then want to throw a pass. What are you doing, man? Just run your plays. But that's fine. Notre Dame benefits. When weeb them boys. It was kind of funny how much Jamie called Riley abandoning the run when it mattered. Those SC 4th down attempts gave us some competition for what you don't want to do. 100%. Jamie's smart, man. Jamie knows it, and Riley does this all the time. He cannot be patient. And the thing is you kind of knew, and I mentioned on the show as well, like is he going to be patient with King Miller? I mean, we did give him 18 carries, to that credit. 18 carries is a good amount of carries, but like he lost patience, and it is what it is. Jason Z says, Greg, what should Notre Dame have done on their last offensive possession at 4th and 15 from the 30? Shouldn't they have punted? No, don't punt. I thought it was smart to do what they did. I wanted them to throw a jump ball to Fields, but I thought it was smart because you can get a pass interference or something. I mean, these officials, you can get some kind of penalty. Like I didn't have a problem with that, and I don't want like a snap. A snap like that in the rain or whatever it might be. Definitely don't kick a field goal. I thought it was fine. I wanted them to throw it up the Fields, but the fact that they threw the ball up in the air like that, I was good with it. I thought it was smart, especially because they had run the clock down as much as they did. It made it a lot easier because the chances were USC, because they made USC burn all their timeouts before that, which was 4th down. So if the play doesn't work, the clock's stopping. So the clock's not going to run. The USC had burned all their timeouts before that. So the chances are USC's not scoring before the 2-minute warning, which means at the very least to win the game, if you get an onside kick, the game's over, So I was fine with what they decided. I did not want to punt. I did not want a long snap like that. So I was good with it. Irish SPE says, do Love and Price end up in New York City? I doubt it. Irish Hokie says, Greg, there was an ACC game earlier today that they played the communications between the refs and the main office. It was interesting and would love to hear that for every game. 100% they should do that. They do it with ESPN, not NBC. 100% they should do it. It helps everyone. There needs to be transparency. CFB Hurt says, I think there are enough quarterbacks performing this season that Love won't get to NYC. Well, I'll tell you what, though. It was a marquee game in prime time, and he went crazy. So that helps, you know? I mean, the thing is, like, you're going to give it to Julian Sand? Like, who else is really standing out, you know? If Notre Dame can continue to get a ball of Love and continue to get him cut touches in the passing game and all that stuff, it could happen. It could absolutely happen. Irish SPE says, DeAnton get good intel. That's a callback to Chad Bowden, giving him information on Notre Dame's personnel. Didn't help. I thought that was bad. CFB Hurt says, Greg, you silly Billy, you forgot to mention Clark Lee at clowning BK. Man, the LSU fans are not happy with Brian Kelly right now. Not at all. Not at all. They lost their second game today to Vanderbilt, probably out of the playoff situation. I mean, they've got some tough games coming up. Probably lose again. John Varvel says Love and Price 474 yards and 3 touchdowns. Legendary. That's of course total yards, all-purpose yards, kickoff returns, things like that. Yeah, I mean, you got these backs. Ride them. How often are you going to have backs like this? Tom Redinger says, I can't believe they went too high safety 3/4 of the game. Unbelievable. I couldn't either. I was shocked. Like, why are you doing that? Like, how, like, what? Notre Dame's just going to run at you. And especially when, you know, it starts raining in the second half. So, Matt says, what were your thoughts on Carr? Do you think the weather played a significant role or no? Also, the interception was bad, but Denbrock's short yardage calls have been so unfortunate as of late. I thought he was out of sorts, you know. I mean, I kind of noticed it right away. I mean, the first pass, the first pass wasn't so bad to Raridan, although it's high in a way. Like, you want that ball lower, right? In that area of the field. You don't want that ball popping up in the air like that. And then he had a pass before the Jeremiyah Love touchdown on an out to Pauling that's just nowhere close. You know, I mean, I didn't think his decision-making was good. Pete Sampson pointed out, like, there were times when he was putting his head down, looking for the rush. There was no rush. I mean, they were pass blocking for him. You know, the pass blocking was really strong in this game, and he just wasn't comfortable. I don't know if it was the pressure of the game, if it was he was too – I mean, we know he's – I don't want to say high-strung. I mean, we know he gets hyped, right? And we know there was the whole story about, you know, he didn't want to sit and stretch because he was so amped up. He wanted to move around and throw. I don't think he gets nervous per se. I think he just presses, like he wants it so bad that he came out and just kind of flubbed it. I mean, it was let's see, 16 to 26 for 136 touchdown interception. I mean, that's by far his worst game, you know, against the defense or passing game that hasn't been very good. So, you know, I don't want to say it's concerning. Like, I think it's understandable in this game. You know, it's against USC. I think Notre Dame was fired up for the USC thing. I mean, Marcus Freeman came out and he was different than he was against A&M in Miami this year. I mean, Notre Dame really wanted this game. I think this game meant a lot to Notre Dame. And I don't want to say it meant more to you or more to them than USC or whatever it might be, but I know Notre Dame's players, you could just tell it meant a lot. And I think that got to Carr a little bit. And it's understandable. I mean, look, if it happens again, it happens again, and we adjust from there. You know, but he hasn't been that all year. So you gotta believe it's gonna come back. And he's gonna be, you know, what he's been the last you gotta think it's gonna be what it's been the last, you know, for the rest of the season. D Wheels 79. Greg, kudos to you on calling out SC boys on Notre Dame. KVA Hughes Jr. played decent. Yeah, I mean, it's just, you know, it means something. You know, it absolutely means something. Frankie Salzarulo says, worried about Carr being off in these big ranked games versus games where Notre Dame's already heavily favored. Hopefully it doesn't bleed. Honestly, I thought he was great. I thought he played with a lot of poise against Miami, and I thought he played with a lot of poise against Texas A&M. You know, it wasn't like this. I mean, obviously he wasn't perfect, right? Like he wasn't, you know, he wasn't perfect against Miami. He made poor reads, things like that. He wasn't perfect against Texas A&M. But for the most part, I mean, he played very good football game. I thought this was a clear deviation from anything else we saw. You could make the case, Frankie, that there's a trend here where he didn't play the best game against Boise State. He didn't play the best game against NC State. And now this is another poor game, right? You could look that as a trend. Here's the other thing to consider, okay? This is his first time ever playing major college football. There's a ton of pressure that goes along with this, right? You go from A&M, Arkansas. I mean, he played 6 straight games. You know, he might just need a break. He might just need a mental reset, right? Because these things are tough. They got the bye week coming up. Hopefully, he can get that reset. These are human beings, right? Even though they're paid a lot of money or whatever it might be, it doesn't mean he's not 19. You know, it doesn't mean he's not 19 years old or 20 years old or whatever. This is his first time in this. You know, there's a learning curve that goes on with this stuff, right? The money doesn't make you more mature. It just makes you have a lot of money in your bank account, right? So we got to remember, I don't want to say they're kids because they're not kids, but this is the first time, you know? And so he might be a little bit mentally tired. He might be a little bit mentally worn down. And he's a kid who really wants it, you know? And so if he presses, it is what it is. Unrep says, I'm curious to get your opinion on this. No info, but if Strauss tonight and Rubio earlier this week are done for the year, these seems like an injury too far for a deep playoff run. What say you? I don't do the injury too far stuff. You know, Notre Dame beat Georgia without Riley Mills. You know, with the other D-Tech, Howard Cross had been hurt all year. Guys get hurt, you know. Jeremiyah Love hampered with the knee. You got to find ways to win, you know. Like I do think I don't know. I don't think Strauss is out for the year, whatever it might be. Maybe he is, or I don't know. But you got to just adjust and move on. You know, they lost Ashton Craig. Joe Otting came in and played great. You know, if they lose Billy Strauss, obviously he's a captain and that hurts. You got to have Sullivan Absher come in and play good football. You just got to do it. You know, it is what it is. You know, after last year, I can't see any injury and say this is the thing. I mean, look, because here's the other part. I mentioned the Arkansas game earlier, held him to 13 points. Leonard Moore didn't play in that game. You just figure it out. You figure out how to win these games. Clontarf says Carr needs to simmer down. Not a good temperament for greatness right now, but he's still already really good. He just got to learn how to manage it, right? And he's doing it for the first time. You know, so I trust that that'll happen. You know, he's going through these things again for the first time in his career, and he's done. You know, he's had played big games in high school, but this is something different. You know, so we got to have some grace for him on that. Drew Brennan, thank you for being here. Drew says, can you give the definition of how that was not intentional grounding towards the end there for USC? 87 was blocking, not even attempting to look for a pass. Look, if he threw it at the feet of if that was 87, I thought it was a lineman. If he threw it at the feet of 87 and he's standing right there, one of those people, then it's not intentional grounding. If you throw it anywhere, even if they're not looking. So I'll go back and look. I thought it was linemen out there, and he's throwing at their feet. If it's at the feet of a tight end, it's not intentional grounding. I need to go back and look. John Varvel said, remember when Ben Morrison said freshman Leonard Moore was going to be better than him, and we all laughed. Sometimes the players just know. 100%, man. What a call. What a call. YouTube user says, I love Joe Otting. He was outstanding. I didn't see him miss a block all night. I mean, he probably did, but he did play a great game. So credit to him. Kudos to him. Frankie says Texas Tech and LSU will fall behind Notre Dame for sure. Brian Kelly on the hot seat makes me so happy, by the way. I know Texas Tech lost. LSU will probably fall behind Notre Dame. That's probably true. I don't know what Texas Tech. I'd have to look at their schedule and all those other things. But Notre Dame's moving up. I mean, it's definitely a big deal. Vision Poet says, which performance was better, BMO shutting down Harrison or Moore shutting down Lemon? I mean, probably more on Lemon because he's playing the slot. Leonard Moore does not play in the slot. I mean, this guy, what an unbelievable football player he is. His first game ever, he had never played to the field against Louisville, and he plays every snap to the field against Louisville. In this game, he plays against the best wide receiver in the country on yards per route run. And he gives up 3 catches for 34 yards. 3 catches for 34 yards against the top wide receiver in the country. 1 slant, really? 1 catch for a first down. He's unbelievable. Like that's so hard to do. So hard to do. He's everything you want. You know, I mean, he's got the size, he's got the footwork, he's patient, he's got good ball skills. I mean, he's just a star, man. You know, look, I'm sure there's reps that he lost where the USC's not looking at him, but what a great performance. Yeah, Rob Gates says, can you talk about more versus incredible performance that he put forward. I'm amazed at how good he is, honestly. He's better than BMO just because of the size, you know? So it's what a big game that he played. I mean, it's like one of those things like you got to have it, and they got it. So credit to him. Frankie Salzarulo says, Ole Miss might be right in front of us. I'm guessing should be 9-10. Could be. I mean, you could be talking about top 10 Notre Dame. We're talking about Diego Pavia. Oh, this is from the Heisman conversation. Domerhead says huge day recruiting too. Yeah. So they had, Joey O'Brien was on campus. They had Cayman Spell, the running back from Penn State, was on campus. Obviously, he had to have liked what he saw. It was a pretty good performance from them. I mean, the 27 class is trending. I mean, it's super trending, right? I mean, we're monitoring the 27 class. Stay locked in to irishsportsdaily.com for recruiting updates that'll come from Matt and Christian. I bet you Christian right this moment, and matter of fact, I know for a fact, right this moment, Christian is on the phone with recruits. It's going to have some stuff on. Dave Caulfield, resident weatherman of this show, friend of the podcast. Dave, Greg, I'm soaked and stoked. USC wilts in the rain for the 11th straight time. Go Irish. Dave gave me the quote, or gave me the stat. Last 10 times Notre Dame and USC have played in the rain. When it has rained on game day, Notre Dame has won. It is the 11th time in a row. Mentioned it on the show on Thursday. Dave is the man. He's giving me updates all day. And Dave was right, by the way. I don't know that he put it on Twitter, and maybe he did, but I might have missed it. But Dave was right. He said first half's going to be fine. Second half is going to be rain. And he mentioned the weather system that was following the initial weather system did not carry lightning. He pointed that out. Dave is the man. ABC 57 weatherman. Good job by you, Dave. You did great tonight. You did great. William Matt says pressure will make CJ into a diamond. I think everyone's hoping for that. Thank you for the comment. Rob Gates, thank you for the super chat. Can you talk about the scheme of Moore versus Lemon? We did talk about that. I mean, I will give credit. I wasn't sure that Notre Dame, I mean, they mixed it up for sure. They didn't have him on Lemon every single time, right? So that was a good plan by Ash. They mixed it up. USC didn't know when they were going to have more on Lemon. They started it out right away, and I thought that was smart to start it out right away because then you go into every play call without USC knowing, is he going to be on him? Is he going to be on him, right? And so I think that was smart. And obviously Leonard Moore was up to it, so I thought that was a good call. I mean, they confused him, right? They want to throw him the ball more than they did. They threw him the ball, 5 times. I mean, they threw the ball to Jacoby Lane 12 times. 6 for 111 for him. Obviously, he had the long touchdown pass. But, I mean, obviously they wanted to get Lemon involved. I mean, he's their playmaker and he's their game wrecker, and he was not able to do that. So it's a great job by Ash. It's a great job by Lemon as well. Doing a great job. Unrep says Leonard Moore's best comparison with Kyle Hamilton, a la size and performance outlier. No, I don't. He's not like a freak in terms of size. It's just that it's combined with he just has great feet, and he's also got that like really quick twitch. So sometimes a guy who has the length. So Christian Gray is a kind of a good example of this. Like Christian Gray's longer, but his stride is so long that it's like it takes him a while to get going. Whereas Leonard Moore has an acceleration. He has the same acceleration as BMO, but he's like 3 inches taller. And so that's what you get. It just makes for a great corner, great football player, great defensive back. Matt says, were you surprised with them playing more in the slot? Gutsy move against Lincoln Riley. No, obviously worked out super well. Yeah, it's gutsy because you don't know if Leonard Moore struggles in the slot. Now you have the worst of all worlds. Your best corner is struggling, and you've taken him out of position, and now you've got like Dallas Golden on Jacoby Lane and stuff like that. So, and by the way, credit to Dallas Golden, asked to play a position that isn't nickel. He's the fifth guy. He's playing nickel that way, but he's asked to do something else. He's playing that corner today. Look, I mean, he had a big pass breakup in the second half there on the go ball to Jacoby Lane. He made a play, right? Like he gave up plays 100%, but he also made a play when it came to that. So it's important, and he did a great job. Jason Z says goals for offense, defense, and special teams for the final run. I mean, special teams, they got to figure out the kicker situation. Hopefully the bye week helps there. Kicker situation is not good. I mean, they're missing extra points all the time. They're kicking off out of bounds when a team is trying to kneel the ball. They're trying to kneel the ball. You're kicking the ball out of bounds. That's no good. I will say, speaking of kickers, James Rendell, great job today. Great job. I mean, the guy didn't have a touchback, pinned USC deep a couple of times. He's booming punts. I mean, let me just see here. Rendell, 4 punts, 196 yard, 49-yard average. 3 inside the 20, 250 plus. That's exactly what you need. It's exactly what you need. For the offense, I think it's get healthy on the offensive line with Strouth. And then, build more chemistry with Otting. And then, just monitor CJ Carr, that sort of thing. Defense, I think just continue to build on this. They're in a great space. I think the defense is in a great space with how they're using their guys and how the scheme matches the strengths of what the defense is right now. I think they're in a great spot. And so I just continue to build on that. Get healthy, right? It'd be great. I don't know what the deal is with Rubio. We'll have to see. Hopefully you can get some health there. And that'll be key for Notre Dame going forward. But I think I've caught up on the chat there, and I think I'm going to end it there. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. If you like what you heard, hit that like button, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell so it is we're going live. I'll be back tomorrow morning in about, 10 hours. I'll be back in 10 hours talking more. Get in the chat tomorrow. Talk about more stuff. We'll have some PFF numbers. We'll have some other stats. We'll have snap counts and all those things. We'll talk about that. Sleep on this. Come back tomorrow. Hopefully my voice is doing better, and then we'll keep the party rolling. It's Notre Dame 34, Southern California, USC 24. They beat their rivals. We'll see what happens with the series from now on. The season continues for Notre Dame and their hopes for a playoff berth going into a bye, and they're riding high right now. So, all right, everybody, have a good night. We will talk to you tomorrow morning. Keep hitting and hustling.